The following programming is EI, educational and informative.
Today on Mystery Hunters.
Something has got Doubting Dave.
Something we've already tangled with this season.
And we have to relive the scariest,
Creepiest.
freakiest mysteries of the year.
To figure out what.
Then we'll take you behind the scenes and show you secrets and bloopers. So how do you explain all the people who report seeing a river
This is the best of Mystery Hunters.
We'll be right back with more Mystery Hunters. We now return to Mystery Hunters.
When Doubting Dave was late for our weekly ghost, ghoul, and alien update, we knew something was wrong.
So we came down to his lab and found this note he started writing.
Dear Christina and Araya, it looks like that thing we couldn't catch on film earlier this year is back. And it could be dangerous. I need you to...
And then it just trails off.
But what thing could he be talking about?
I don't know, but it must have been something pretty nasty to bag Doubting Dave. What's the scariest thing you ran into lately?
We were filming a story on a poltergeist in the Edinburgh Cemetery. The reports all take place in a tomb they call the Black Mausoleum. What did people report?
Cuts and bruises on their bodies. People began to collapse. One woman in the tomb last week said when she went in, all the fingers on one hand broke.
Lots of people had scratches and burns on their bodies. People would faint in the tomb and have these really bizarre experiences. Hello? To be honest, I was a little creeped out by the whole story about the poltergeist. Is anybody in here? So we were filming in the tomb, just going through the interview with the guest. I suddenly felt really creepy. I don't know, I just felt really uncomfortable for a second.
What do you mean?
I couldn't pay attention. I felt like something was on my neck. I just really just wanted to get out. I felt like something else was there. Something was watching me. My neck felt really uncomfortable and cold.
And why'd you start crying?
I just wanted to get out of there. This has never happened. So what was the scariest thing you ran into?
Actually, what scared me wasn't really what was gonna get me, is what could have got me. Have you ever been all alone in a dark place and seen a shadow that scares you? And we went to a graveyard because that was a really creepy atmosphere, and one of the people we interviewed said that they'd seen shadow people there. These kind of shadowy ghosts that are supposed to live all around us. I wasn't sure I wanted to see one up close. I'm heading into a darker part of the cemetery, so I better turn on my night vision if I want to see anything. So I went off by myself, and it was really dark. It was a huge cemetery. And I was like, I don't know, there was like at least 2,000 graves in it. And somebody behind me. Even my shadow looked scared. It was kind of creepy. It was like a really weird, eerie quiet. I was getting really creeped out by this point. What's that? And then I felt like this thing on my back, and it clawed its way through my stomach and out. No, but seriously, I heard this voice coming out of my pocket, and I realized my walkie-talkie that the director had given me. And he said that to be very careful because they saw some dark figures running around the cemetery and they didn't know what it was. And I was already creeped out by this point, so I was kind of looking out, and as soon as I saw one shadow, I was gone. I started running top speed back, and when I got back, everyone was laughing, and I realized it was just a joke.
So it wasn't actually a shadow person that scared you?
No. In fact, we kind of figured out that shadow people might just be tricks your eyes play on you.
Still, I know how when you're alone in a scary place, it's really easy to get freaked out. Like the time I was in Bodie, this ghost town in California. Strange things happen at night in this house. Keith Smith is in town training to be a park ranger. So why do you think this place is haunted?
On my third night here, I was awakened.
Keith says he woke up and he couldn't breathe. He felt like something was sitting on his chest.
And then after about 10 seconds or so, the bed started jumping up and down. That's why I think it's haunted.
The next night, it was my turn to try to meet Bodie's ghosts. Alone. Well, I guess I better try to get some sleep. What was that? Anyhow, the next day we were exploring this old cemetery, and we went into this undertaker's room, and the town had just been completely abandoned suddenly, and there was these coffins just everywhere, just lying everywhere, some that were open, some that were half open, and there's just cobwebs everywhere. And it just had this weird energy, thinking that, hey, if everybody just abandoned the town, maybe there is something spooky still hanging out here. So it just gave a bit of an uneasy feeling in there.
I know what you mean. When we were in Alcatraz, I had to stay in this cell all by myself. It was called The Hole. Hundreds of years ago, Americans built a fortress prison on the island of Alcatraz. They sent their worst criminals there. Prisoners who misbehaved were sent here, caged in cells the size of a closet. Trapped like animals, some of the prisoners went wild. One story describes a prisoner screaming that a demon with glowing eyes was in his cell. But when I was in there, it was completely dark, and I was shut off from everyone else, and I was supposed to stay in there with my DV cam and just look around and see if I could find any ghosts or try and see if I could find anything. It's dark. It's cold. I can't imagine sitting in a cell like this for 19 days. Refrigerator. My fully charged battery just died. At first, I was just like, okay, it's just kind of dark in here. And then all of a sudden, my battery, which had at least 50 minutes in it, just drained, gone. So I was like, all right, that's kind of weird. Took it out, replaced it. Then, when I pop in my backup battery, that dies too. I just experienced 2 batteries dying. This is my 3rd battery. Wow, that's kind of weird. Is there anybody in here? Trying to give me a sign not to be in here? Whoa. Since you're dead, another battery, 3 batteries died. And by that time, I just had enough, so I came out. And I was just pretty creeped out by the end.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
What did you think it was?
They say that happens when there's a ghost around. People have a lot of stories about batteries dying or equipment failure, so maybe it really was a ghost of an old prisoner.
Did you feel anything?
I just felt really weird, kind of creeped out that all my batteries kept dying, and I knew that they were fully charged when I was using them.
But that still doesn't help us with... Doubting Dave?
Then it came back with 11 more objects.
So in theory, you could make a severed arm or leg twitch by zapping its nerve endings with a biological unit such as this. Watch. And scene.
Like when I offered the semi-precious stone at the cenote with the shaman to Shock, to show respect to... Like when I offered the semi-precious stone at the cenote with the shaman to show respect to Shock, it was a respect for my safety. Like when I offered at the cenote the semi-precious stone with the shaman at the Shock.
I wonder if those objects... I wonder if the objects caused the bend in time. Do you still have all of the things?
Well, I didn't see any giant birds on this trip, but Michael said he saw one here. And Marlon, something picked up him. And...
We'll be right back with more Mystery Hunters. We now return to Mystery Hunters.
Darling Dave, is that you?
Hey, Christine. Hey, Adam. Hey, don't worry about that. It was all just a big misunderstanding. And I heard you talking about some pretty scary stuff. You should be focusing on the fun things. Let me ask you this. What was the coolest thing you did in your investigations? Ha ha ha.
Well, I guess one of the coolest things I did was when I was in Mexico, we were diving in these cenotes, which is like an underwater cave kind of. And if you went into the cenotes, supposedly you'd be able to get to the underworld. The Mayans believed that these watery caves lead to a scary underworld. Could they really be a place of death? So I was diving in there, I was looking around, and as we were going, all of a sudden we saw a human skull. It was just so weird because you couldn't really figure out how a skull would get all the way down into the cenote. I mean, whose skull was it? I took some pictures of it and brought them to an archaeologist who had studied the ancient people who once lived in that area.
Let's check it out. That's interesting. These were injuries. Many people got killed during sacrifice.
Sacrifices? What for?
Sacrifice was to make the gods happy.
And then we found out later that they actually used to sacrifice people to the god Shak, so that's how the bodies got in there. Yeah, and another cool thing that I got to do was I got to ride a scooter, and I never rode a scooter before, so it was really cool that I got to ride it in the story. I was heading over to the Temple of the Oracle of Delphi. See, the Oracle of Delphi was the most powerful woman in ancient Greece. It seemed she could predict people's future. She could tell if they'd be rich and successful, or if kings could win wars and stuff. Her temple is in ruins now. But I thought if I could use it to contact the Greek god Apollo, the way she said she did, I might be able to find out how she made her famous predictions.
The answer lies beneath you.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Come on. Here we go. Hello?
The answer lies beneath you. Hey, Araya.
Whoa. Hi, Professor. Good trick.
Thanks.
I did get some answers, but not from the god Apollo. I got them from Dr. Sickinger, an archaeologist who studies the temple. And another cool thing in Greece was when I was in the submarine. First you were above the water, it was like a regular boat ride. Then all of a sudden you're completely underwater. I was trying to figure out if a volcano caused the ancient city of Atlantis to sink into the sea. We're inside the ancient crater of the volcano. Could Atlantis be nearby? I see something. It's a shipwreck. I didn't end up finding Atlantis, but that trip under the crystal blue waters of the Greek islands was amazing.
And what was the coolest thing you did?
Well, when we were in England, we were doing this story on these World War II planes that apparently were coming back as ghost planes, and people were seeing them. It's coming down!
I saw this aircraft, and it was very, very low. And I said, that plane is coming down. And he managed to get past it. And then I turned and tried to see through the windows, and I couldn't see any plane at all. Don't know where it had gone.
I'm going back to the area where people said they saw the ghost planes with pilot Mitch Walker in his Stearman biplane. I get kind of nauseous in biplanes, so I was a little nervous about it at first, actually, to the point I had a plastic bag put in my pocket because I thought I was going to puke. So before we go up, the pilot asks me, he's like, he saw the plastic bag in my pocket, and he asked me, are you going to be okay? And I was like, oh, yeah, I think I'll be okay, but I do get nauseous sometimes, and I just want to be sure. He said, oh, that's too bad. He's like, because I do acrobatics in the air. I'm like, okay, you know what? If I get sick, I get sick, but I just want to do this. I'm really glad I did it because we ended up doing all these figure eights in the skies, these backflips, and it was so awesome. It was so terrifying, and I didn't get sick. And then when we were in India, I got to ride an elephant, and I thought it was just going to be a regular kind of ride, but it really wasn't. This thing was absolutely huge. And what was really cool about it was when you get onto the elephant. So he lies down onto the ground, and you get a little ladder to climb up onto him. And you get up onto him, and you just think it's just going to stand up. But it doesn't. It stands up. First, his front legs go up, so you just completely, you're flying backwards, and you really have to hold on, because you're going to fall off. It was pretty intense, but it was really cool.
You see, isn't this more fun than trying to figure out what happened to Doubting Dan, Dave?
Wait a minute. I know who you are. You're Doubting Dave's twin. The one that showed up during our Princess Anastasia investigation.
But what have you done with Doubting Dave?
Oh, not me. But you keep looking and maybe you'll figure out who's got him. In a million years.
We have to think.
Maybe it wasn't a supernatural creature that took Doubting Dave. Maybe it was a person.
Okay, well, who was the most unforgettable person you met during your investigations?
Well, there were a few. I'll never forget Tarka King from Leslie Castle. This is Leslie Castle. The Leslie family has owned this property for hundreds of years. Members of the family still live here. But the strange part is, some of them are dead. Can the ghosts of your relatives come back after they die? The Leslies seem to think so. Tarka told me about his great uncle, Norman. Did you ever see his ghost while you were living here?
I have, as a child.
Tarka says that as a kid, he used to see a strange person walking around in his bedroom at night.
He used to sort of half, as if he was about to kneel or something. One arm would go up, and then he'd move on, round the side of the bed, and into the cupboard. That's scary. It makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
Norman? But you know, I met all sorts of strange, unusual, and interesting people.
Good evening, Christina. I'm expecting you. Please come in.
There was the man from Frankenstein's castle.
So it's pretty scary laying on that table, isn't it?
The woman from that creepy medical museum. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hi, Walter.
Hi, Christina.
The guy from the ghost town who liked throwing rocks down that old haunted mine shaft.
The voice that came out of the shaft.
Or that spooky fellow I met deep underground in the Edinburgh Vault. Oh.
Hi, Christina.
Sometimes they were just as interesting as the mysteries we were investigating.
I met people who made some pretty wild claims, too. Like the guy who said he was picked up off the ground by a thunderbird.
Something just grabbed me by my shirt and picked me up off the ground.
And another guy who said he could affect lights and machines with his mind. But these people weren't scary or dangerous. Just interesting. There's no way any of them would have kidnapped Doubting Dave.
Wait a minute. I think I know where Doubting Dave is. Could there be a doorway to the past right here? A man says he slipped 2,000 years back into the past. Colin found 2,000-year-old Roman coins in this field. Right after he dug them up, he heard running horses and saw a fort that wasn't there before. I wonder if those objects caused the bend in time.
Finally, a theory I can prove. All I need... Do people always report seeing the same type of animal?
We'll be right back with more Mystery Hunters. We now return to Mystery Hunters.
I think I know what happened to Doubting Dave. We did this incredible investigation in England about a man who thought he might have traveled back in time. They were out there just searching with their metal detectors one night when they found these ancient Roman coins, and that seemed to make something very strange happen to them. But what was so amazing about the story was Colin, this guy that we met. What do you think happened? Do you think it's possible that you traveled back in time right here in this field?
Who knows? In my opinion, we saw this field as it existed in some other time. John and I either went back 2,000 years in time or the past came to us in some way.
Something happened to Colin that night in that field, and I really believed him. He was so sincere.
But wait a minute. If that's the coin from your time slip investigation, do you think that...
Maybe Doubting Dave somehow triggered it and went back in time.
No way. I mean, there's no proof that traveling back in time is even possible, let alone that coin in your hand can make it happen.
Hey, maybe we're going about this the wrong way. Maybe something Doubting Dave met during one of his labs kidnapped him.
There was this ghost dog we ran into upstairs at headquarters. Oh, yeah, and he told me about a cyborg that got into his office.
Right. Remember? There was a ghost light that attacked him in the woods. And he was chased out of his own maze.
Every time.
By a minotaur.
And I know his goldfish had a beef with him, too. They were always at each other's throat.
This little guy?
I don't know. Maybe this is all just some kind of test.
I was wondering when you'd think of that.
Very cool. But we were actually way ahead of you.
Awesome. But where's Araya?
Ta-da!
Remember, things aren't always what they seem.
Except for the bloopers we're about to show you.
Thanks for watching.
I'm bald!
You ready, Dave, for this?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, action. 2, 1, action. Love it.
And what was the coolest thing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You have to hold it.
I'm sorry.
Action.
Yeah.
You're gonna blow, aren't you? All right.
Okay.
And what was the cool?
The bird I'm looking for is double that size and could lift up a 65-pound boy. Well, sorry, but before you answer that, can I just say one thing? Now, I've been a mystery hunter for quite a long time now, and everywhere I've gone, all I've heard is no. I mean, vampires, no. Bigfoot, no. Ghosts, no. Please, before you answer, just take the time and could you say yes? Is it possible? At all? No, at all. Is there any chance that this could be it?
I really wish I could help you, but there's just no living bird today that can do that.
This is MeTV.